everyone, I'm Geena Kumar, the director of TikTok. I'm about to be on the online prosperity show, which I'm super excited about. I specialize in helping busy business owners, solopreneurs, and entrepreneurs finally get those nagging tasks and projects off their to-do list and into action. My goal is to free up business owners' valuable time and mental energy so they can focus on what they do best.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, the #1 destination for exclusive insights into the journeys of remarkable individuals who are making a significant impact in their fields. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a guest whose story is as inspiring as it is relatable. Now, Geena, how are you doing today?
Hi, Prosper. I'm great, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm really excited for this show today. Guess what? I'm actually organized for the very first time in my entire life.
I love an organized person. I am super proud of you, and I can't wait to see your to-do list after this.
Oh, well, it's been all ticked off. So I don't know if you're going to be seeing anything or you're just going to be seeing ticks, because I just did that.
That's what I want to see. I love seeing those ticks.
Fantastic. Now, for those that are watching right now, if you're too busy to tick things off your to-do list, our guest today gets that stuff done. Now, I want you to meet Geena Kumar, who's the founder of TikTok, a professional business organizer and problem solver based in New Zealand. Now, Geena has a unique talent for helping busy executives, small business owners, artists, creatives, and also working parents get that elusive thing off their to-do list. Now, if you've got a to-do list that's as long as a mile, I beg you to pay attention to this call today, because we're going to be exploring how sometimes you just need somebody to help you get that thing off your to-do list so you can move on with your life. I viscerally believe you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands full. So many people are moving around with stuff that are just dragging them down instead of them becoming that helium balloon that just doesn't have that weight, of a to-do list, that keeps you away from being present in your business, in your life, and everything else that comes along with it. But before we jump in, I found a nice tidbit of information that Geena is actually going to be surprised that I know. Now, Geena, I've heard people actually call you, or sometimes they refer to you as a Google, or they'd rather just come to you first before they even Google anything. You are capable of unearthing things that people seem to not be able to find.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got this weird, I like to call it a bit of a talent, where I just love hearing a problem or, something that somebody is just like, I don't even know where to start with this. So generally I'll get a call, do you know where I'd find this, Geena? Or how can I source this? Or, my email's not working, or something. And so often I'm that person that my clients, friends, family, even randoms call, and they're just like, I don't really know how to get this fixed or done, or just off my plate. It's stressing me out. So often I'm that person that they'll call. And I think the reason why they do call me is I've got such a varied background. My early career, I was in the fashion industry as a stylist, and then moved into the corporate world where I was a business development manager for the Australian Trade Commission. So I looked after a big infrastructure portfolio, so things like mining, rail, transport, and worked in a largely business development role where I'd help companies enter the New Zealand market, which was super varied and exciting, and I met lots of great people. But I also fell uh, into that role in most of my corporate roles of being the IT person, but just the person that would be able to find stuff. Geena, where is this? Or how my computer's got the blue circle of death. So I was usually that person that would just help everybody get things done. After I was in the Australian Trade Commission, I moved into other roles, such as being a membership and marketing manager for the mining industry association here in New Zealand called Stratera, and then moved on from there 4 or 5 years later into being a culture and engagement consultant. So people are my gig, and I just love helping people and getting them through, the different nuances at work that you can come across, whether you work in a corporate office or work from home. There's those day-to-day struggles that, whether you're part of a team or not, sometimes you just need that extra person to have a wee chat to and figure things out. So I really got my love for what I do now out of all those different roles that I've had.
Absolutely. Now, Geena, you know what their positions here? It's like you're the human Swiss Army knife, for so many people, because if you are able to help people across just the way they look, how they do business, and how they relate to other human beings, you just become this sort of multifaceted individual. And it's quite exciting to be able to unravel that. Now, obviously, these things don't just happen to someone. What was it like growing up? Did you think this was going to happen to you, or did you grow up in a space where you had to maybe show up and help others be, do, and have whatever was happening then?
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, my father's Fijian Indian and comes from a culture where I was probably meant to be a lawyer or an accountant. But I've always been highly creative. So I do a lot of graphic design and work with quite a lot of artists and creatives, as well as neurodivergent clients as well. So I've I really noticed when I was in corporate that I got bored easily. And I really enjoy having a multitude of different tasks, whether it's writing, communications, marketing, or that creative side. And I just kind of got bored working for the same brand. And so, as I grow up, I kind of realized that, I am really multifaceted, and it's not a bad thing to grow up knowing that you're a jack of all trades and sometimes an expert at none of them, but I'm always keen to learn about what somebody else's struggle or what their industry or business is like. And so, my first ethos really is just learning as much as I can about the people I work with and the people they work with, and how you can make the most out of your talents, really.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for opening that up, because I believe and can see how the heritage that you have, which already is diverse, would place you in places where to other people you are a certain person and to other people you are a certain person. Is that something that would have struck you as you were maybe growing up or on your way up, that you had so many different faces that you had to show to different people based on who you were at that particular time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, striving to be good at one thing was a real struggle for me because, I think to a certain degree, my dad really wanted me, and from a cultural perspective, to be really an expert at one thing. And I really struggled with that because I think I'm good at lots of things. And, so it's really given me that drive to think, well, actually, every little thing that I can achieve something in is, another feather in my cloak, in my hat, or, whatever you want to call it. But so I get immense pride from literally ticking those things off, like I did that, or I created that, or or I helped that person achieve that goal. And so I think that's given me, look, I went to uni for fashion and everything like that, and I got bored and I enjoyed that time in that industry. And yes, I still love buying lots of clothes and spending my money on clothes. But, I've learned over the years that some things are great hobbies and passions, but not necessarily what I want to do day in and day out in my job, but stuff I like to dabble in. So, yeah, the variety has been an amazing thing for not only my mental health, but also just really channeling my energy on different things.
Absolutely. But from what I've heard and looked at the way your journey has sort of unfolded, most of these things are really human centric. All right. So some people that I end up talking to have a very animal lean, and other people have a very technology lean, but yours is people. What fascinates you about people?
I think what fascinates me about people is that, we've all got, I think, particularly in this day and age, we've all got less time. There's so much noise around us with social media, emails, even turning the news on sometimes is depressing. And then all amongst that, we all really want to be happy humans. We spend most of our time at work if we have to, and juggling that with family. I really empathize with mums, with busy small business owners. It's hard doing a lot of these things on your own. And it's also hard doing them when you're juggling a family or, people that really rely on you. So I'm really empathetic to that struggle in this day and age with so much going on. I think that's what gets me up in the morning is being able to, I sit at my desk and be like, oh, I got that off their list. There's nothing more, there's nothing like seeing somebody's face when they're like, oh, I can tick that off my to-do list. You made me feel so much better today, Geena. And that's what gets me up every day is just that, that person really loving the fact that they've gotten something done that they've been meaning to do for ages.
Fantastic, fantastic. And with all of that being said, what are the first things you dabbled in, which obviously you've allowed us to use that word? One of the things you put yourself into was styling. And this is where so many people do not manage to either get it right, either maybe the way they look, the way they show up, or what they're going to. As they say, you need to dress for the job you're going to or the job you want, not where you are sort of coming from. Now, what were some of the things that you noticed while being a stylist that that you can help people with, especially that they need to tick off in order to get it right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think you need to really keep your individuality, but also professionalism when you're getting dressed in the morning. Being largely online with most of my clients, it's really easy some days to be, I might just wear my tracksuit or just wear pajama pants on the bottom half today. But for me, getting up in the morning and putting something on that still shows my individuality, but also shows up as being professional, but shows a bit of uniqueness. That makes me feel good. And I think, one of my biggest tips is always wear nice underwear. That always makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
But I think especially if you're an online business owner as well, is really, have that capsule wardrobe. If it's wearing black every day, it's a black long sleeve t-shirt and black jeans, you still look great, professional, and you're still showing up and you're not wearing your pajamas and you're just kind of, you got pride in your own work. And I think no matter whether it's for a job interview or anything like that, know your audience. Who are those people that you're wanting to impress or get them over the line with your product or service? What will tickle their fancy but show your uniqueness.
Absolutely. I mean, ever since the pandemic, Zoom has now become literally the gateway into the world. I'm talking to you right now, you in New Zealand, and your first impression, or my first impression of who you are and what it is, all just is within this frame. And obviously, this then makes it easy for us to move on based on, what you already perceive of that person. And so many people don't tick that box, and they wonder why maybe business is not working well. It's because maybe the impression that they made on that person was not a lasting effect. But you obviously were in corporate for quite a while, and you held diverse roles and things of that nature, but you left that and you went for starting a business where you left the structure, the stability, and everything else that comes along with it. And I know that business can be daunting. What were some of the first things you did when you started off on your own?
Uh, I probably freaked out a little bit. It's scary
You have
going
a
from,
to-do list.
yeah. I literally made myself a massive to-do list because it's not necessarily clear cut how to start a business, particularly in New Zealand. That there's lots of different resources, but it's like, what do you need for a business? How does your insurances work? How do I get my business registered? How am I going to do my invoices? And do I need a template for that? And what do my terms of service and stuff like that need to be in it? And because my business idea was so unique, a lot of people didn't really get it. They were like, oh, I feel like it's a bit too broad, Geena. You need a niche. You need to really niche it down and just concentrate on one thing and do it really well. And I was just like, yeah, but, along the years, I've always helped my friends, and they've all got such different business ideas. And, I really stuck to my guns. I had a few really great mentors that helped me through that initial starting up stage. I had a very patient partner. The money wasn't coming in as quickly as I was hoping for it to come in. But I think, that first few months was really about me finding my own rhythm, getting up early in the morning, doing a bit of fitness, having a bit of a routine, getting online, looking for those clients, and also working with an existing friend of mine who really needed help in his business. And I just got stuck in there. Like, I literally cleaned out. He's a glass artist. I actually cleaned out his whole studio, got it reset into really great systems and processes. And he was like, great, I need the website done now. We need to, step up the social media. And so we started this big old to-do list for him. And at first he was just like, "Ooh, that's quite a lot." And I said, "Don't worry, we're going to break it down." So we phased it all out. I did it at a pace that was really comfortable for him, and really looked at the big stumbling blocks that he found he was having in his business. So I got to learn the business from the inside out, every single process. And it was the best thing I ever did as my first job as ticked off, because it taught me about my ethos and how I want to manage my clients going forward. Really get to know their business, really understand their struggles and why they find it hard to get things off their to-do list. And I think thirdly, like, what really makes them and their staff tick? What is their culture all about? How do they want to be as leaders? And I think my culture and engagement background really helped with that, is just really get down to the nitty gritty of, why their to-do list had gotten so out of control. What were the pain points in their business, and how could I help problem solve some of those systems and processes? So yeah, very fulfilling.
I like that. I like that because I truly believe how you do anything is how you do everything. You know what I mean? The way you show up, the way you talk to your clients, creates that's where the brand really is. What people say about your business when you're not in the room, not necessarily what you say. I'm good at bending glass into shapes, or I'm the artist and things of that nature. Yes, people can see that, but how do they feel and
Yeah.
how do they experience the brand? Now, congratulations on that, because so many people might not have had that behind the scenes look, which now gives you a good stepping ground to now be able to advise, obviously, other business owners and people on what really needs to happen in order to move the needle. Now, your approach, as you have elaborated, stems from creating systems that really empower your clients. Could you maybe elaborate on how this philosophy then shapes the way you serve your clients? Because so many people just rock up maybe with like a box full of receipts to their accountant, or like a box full of crayons to their graphic designer, and they're like, hey, you sort it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, my first step is really when I work with a client is I just really get to understand their business. I mean, often, sometimes people will just come with a small task, but even a small task might have repercussions to other goals that they want to achieve. So let's get it right the first time. I really believe in providing value, particularly for small business owners, because it often you don't have a massive team of staff to do all these little things, and you need that somebody to really understand why you're doing that task. So a lot of the time I'll listen to what their pain points are, why they even started their business, what is their big audacious goal, where do they want to go with their business, because often that task might not be what they need. They might actually need something that might not even be that big. It could be a little tiny tweak that we make just to make things a little bit more efficient. It could be something as little as, it's a regular piece of comms that we send out to your clients. So you have less admin with managing, queries back on a product or service. Maybe it's, having clear clear FAQs on your website to stop some of those customer service queries coming through, so you're not constantly on your email. Sometimes it's just streamlining a process. And so, it is really helpful for me to know as much as I can about your business and goals so that we can get through that. I'll often give a big to-do list of things that I can do for the client, but I'll phase it out and I'll just say, look, here's my proposal. You can tick whatever you like off the proposal I've given you of what you'd like me to start on. And if it's something that you're not interested in now, then I can do it later for you when you get to that place. So I leave things really open with my clients, largely because they're busy people and they might not be ready to do certain things at a certain time. But it's about giving them that comfort that they've got somebody behind them, and they're not hiring a big agency or just one contractor to do one small thing as part of their business. I love being multifaceted, so I can do that email campaign for them. It could be, reorganizing that workspace or that broom cupboard that literally they've been shoving all their old files and books into, and it's just driving them nuts that they don't have enough space. Or it could be rejuvenating their website or giving them that rebrand that they've been wanting to do for ages. So really varied work. It's just about what the business owner's energy is at that time and how we can work with it.
Absolutely. And what I quite like about all of this is you somewhat end up becoming that concierge for them, where people come to you not exactly knowing what to expect, and then you then sort of set those goals, systems and then go to town and work towards that. Now, you've mentioned goals maybe a couple of times in the conversation right now. Maybe you've got a different way of how to actually set goals that are achievable or that actually stretch yourself. What's your philosophy around goal setting, just so we have an understanding?
I think in terms of goal setting, where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you want to be at the end of the year? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Let's break that down and work backwards from that. What do we need to achieve to get to that happy place for you? Whether it's finding 10 new clients by the end of the year, whether it's getting that new website launch, we can chunk it out into steps. I think, a lot of my clients are neurodivergent, so they love starting a project and they often don't really get to finish it, and it's sitting in limbo land there for a moment. And so I love coming in on those projects and just being like, okay, this is the goal. Let's break it down into manageable tasks. I can do these tasks. You can concentrate on the stuff you're really good at doing it as part of that project, and we'll get it done. And I'll keep nagging you. I love nagging clients because sometimes they just need that person to kind of coach them through and hold them accountable. And I suppose that's one of my big tips today, actually, is, being a business owner, sometimes your partner or your family or your friends aren't necessarily the best people to talk to about those goals, because they're just like, oh, just get it done, or why aren't you doing that today, or blah, 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 blah. I think having somebody outside of your business that can really hold you accountable and just check in on you and see if you're doing okay, or if you're having, a bad day. I love just being like, look, that's okay. We've got this amount of time to do it. We've broken it down. I can take that off your plate. How about we just, relook at the plan? We can move the timeline out. Nobody's going to die if we move the timeline out. Sometimes it's just that extra comfort for some people knowing that I've got their back, or they've got somebody else that, they don't have to download on their family at 5 o'clock when you're getting dinner ready for the kids and you just want to, relax after work. I'm that person that they just sometimes need a call on the way home from a meeting and just download on it. So I think that helps a lot of people just get through the day sometimes. It's just been like, got all these ideas, but they never seem to write them down either. So I'm also that person that will just be like, right, I'm going to add that to the to-do list. And, we'll cross that hurdle when you're feeling like you've got the energy to do it.
I like that. And you see, half of the time, when you embark on a journey to start your business, the people around you are very well meaning. All right. They absolutely have seen and watched you grow, and they just don't want you getting hurt based on the stories they've heard from the grapevine of how, certain things end up happening within business. And you're absolutely right. Some of them might not be well suited to then be giving you that sort of advice, or they have a whole different mindset as to how things get done, because maybe they are, as I like to call them, civilians who literally would only just exert effort based on the remuneration that they're having. Whereas as an entrepreneur, you become everything to just about every facet of your own business. Now, you have explicitly mentioned that you're working with neurodivergent business owners, and it's a very unique sort of aspect of your work that you are embarking on. But what sort of insights have you maybe gained from these collaborations that other neurodiverse people can maybe be cognizant of and realize, wait a minute, I think I need to dial 911 Geena?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think most of my clients who are neurodivergent are incredibly creative, savvy business people. They've got great business ideas. They're actually, the biggest problem is brimming with ideas and not knowing how to channel them or get them started or get them finished. And so, more often than not, and a lot of people actually don't like online meetings. They'd rather meet in person, or they, have really different communication styles. And often, it's a bit of a brain spew of all these ideas. And so what I've learned working with a lot of my clients is, let's get all these ideas down, and, we'll come back to that point. And, it's how we communicate with each other and get to know each other that I found is really, really helpful with channeling all of that creativity and those ideas that they have. I then also look at how are they currently organizing themselves? And more often than not, they hate that word organizing because they're generally not organized. They like to fly by the seat of their pants and they just get stuff done. I think my biggest tip for neurodivergent people in business is that, I think manage your energy. Some days, it's okay to have a bit of what I call a potato day, where you just feel physically exhausted. We've got very different brains where some days you're just like, I just do not have the mental capacity to work on that. And we'll fluff around and procrastinate on lots of different things. So we'll go and do something instead of doing the task that we've got a little bit of a tight deadline on. My advice is give yourself 5 or 10 minutes to just stop, breathe some deep breaths, go and do that wash, even if it's putting a load of laundry on, whatever it is, but give yourself 5 minutes to do it, and then go back to that task, look at it again objectively, and just be like, how can I break this down into smaller tasks? So, for example, if it's writing something, I know that in the mornings I'm way better at writing than in the afternoon. How can I help you manage your energy throughout the day so you can get the most out of those activities that you need to do? So if it is that writing, then you're better at writing in the afternoon. Let's put that in the afternoon. So another tip I have for neurodivergent clients is time chunking. So color code your calendar. If it's a task that you need to do that you've been putting it off, break it down into little 15-minute or 10-minute little tasks if you can. Color code them and put them into your calendar where you feel like you'll have the most energy to do it. And that helps people a lot because they know it's in front of them, but they're also not wedded to it. They can move it around as their energy changes, and that helps a lot of people.
Absolutely. And I was just looking at your name while you're saying that. It's like, like a genie, like you've got a genie that
I wish I was a genie. I'd rub it and then I'd rub the bottle and then be a millionaire. But, it all takes hard work having your own business, especially being a solo business owner, right?
Absolutely. But I'm going to maybe go off a little bit from your clients, but then also, because you keep talking about energy and things of that nature, and I'm going to go to you specifically. Now, since this business model is quite flexible and is very different, when obviously everyone is not going to be the same, no two fingers on the same hand are of the same height and things of that nature. How then do you tailor your services to meet the specific needs of each client? Because each and every one of them is going to need a different aspect of you, and all of that must be training.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. I mean, after obviously a bit of a discovery call with a client, I've learned a bit about their business. I offer a free consultation for half an hour so I can really get to understand what they're needing help with. I write up a bit of a plan of attack of what I think we could do to help them with that task or a multitude of tasks, or how we can get them to that goal. And then I give them some time to have a wee look, and we have another chat about the plan of attack, which is essentially a bit of a to-do list for me. And I'm really clear with the client about, you know, together we'll get some of these tasks done. But most of it, if you can download what you need by just giving me a call, whether it's a voice message, an email, a smoke signal, or whatever, you know, communication is key. You know, I like to put myself as their right hand person that they can just call on. So a lot of clients actually voice message me like, hey, I nearly forgot to do this. We need to get this done. Add that to the to-do list. So that's always quite a successful way. Like, you know, some people like working on Messenger or Slack, and I really work with the tools that people like to work with. So I don't like to put them out of their comfort zone in terms of communication. I think the other thing is budget, you know, like, again, you know, being a small business owner myself, you know, it's hard to justify an extra cost or an extra resource when, you know, you've got a lot of outgoings, or, you know, you've got a few things like equipment and stuff like that you want to buy. So I offer an hourly rate to clients, or either a package deal. So I work with their timeline and budget and what works for their business, and try and do what, you know, what is going to give them the best bang for buck, because it's not easy, and it's sometimes just hard paying a big invoice all in one. So I like to space it out with my clients and look at what their immediate needs are and how we can work to their budget. So I'm very flexible with all of that kind of stuff. And I think in business these days, there has to be an amount of flexibility. It's hard out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I like that you're there, you know, to make things happen for business people. Now, while you're also speaking, I was actually just thinking about my to-do list, and one of them is to watch a favorite movie of mine. And there's a scene in this movie where, you know, everything is just being discussed in the boardroom, and people are disrupted. They are at their wits' end. They don't know what to do next. And then there's a quiet intern that's just sitting at the corner of the room, and then she stands up, and then she just comes in and then slides in a business card to the CEO, and the CEO looks at her and says, "What a brilliant idea. Send a chopper." I kind of feel like you're the send a chopper person when...
Yeah, well, sometimes I actually refer to myself as the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking, that, you know, when things are all everywhere and you just come in and then you put, you know, calm to that chaos. Now, where can people send a chopper to on the internet to find you?
Oh, absolutely. So I'd love for anybody to send their chopper to www.ticktoff.co.nz, or just give me a call, or even LinkedIn me. You know, I think I love having a chat with everybody and figuring out your business. And I love hearing about unique businesses. And, you know, we're so lucky in this world now that, you know, you can have incredible online businesses. You can just really specialize in a product and do your passion now. You know, like, we're not all necessarily tied to a corporate job or a 9 to 5 now. And, you know, I pride myself on being flexible for my clients, because, you know, like, I need time too, you know, like, I mean, if I could hire myself to organize me, funnily enough, I'm actually really good at organizing people, but terrible at organizing myself. So I'd rather organize other people than organize my own things, which drives my husband nuts. But, you know, so I'd much rather take somebody's call in the middle of the night to organize them than me thinking about, oh, I've got to go to the supermarket tomorrow. So I'm a good procrastinator at my own jobs, but definitely not a procrastinator on my clients. So yeah, call me with your problems. I love a good problem to solve.
Absolutely. I'll definitely make sure that all those links are in the show notes below. And
Awesome.
obviously we can get people sending their choppers down your way.
Love
Now,
that.
obviously, Gina, yes, this is well true and good. People can watch this and while they are multitasking, doing whatever they're doing. And obviously that's the world we live in now. Very, very connected. Yes, disconnected to our mission, our purpose, even our own selves and things of that nature, which leaves us so overwhelmed, whether we want to keep up with the Joneses or keep up with the implications of being in business, keep up with social media, keep up with just about everything else, health, wealth, and relationships. Now, for those that are overwhelmed with their to-do lists and things of that nature, what sort of practical steps would you maybe recommend for them to at least regain control?
Absolutely. I think the first step to regaining control over that massive to-do list is write it down. Write down your feelings. Like if you're just like frustrated with that client, I find, or, something that's gone wrong with a supplier, for example, write it down as if you want to say it, and really get it out, because often we don't listen to ourselves. We get so stuck in the frustration that we're not really listening to the why. Why are we super frustrated with this? Why has it ended up like this? What could I have done differently? What what do I need help with? And sometimes we need to look from the outside in as to, where how did it get to this point where I'm so overwhelmed? What needs to give? Because often we fill our lives with stuff that we don't necessarily need, I mean, we're all guilty of getting into a hole on social media, and before you know it, you've wasted an hour, do I need to just literally put my phone on airplane mode and put it in a different room so I can concentrate? What, and again, I'm talking about energy, right? Like I find, sometimes I really get into a flow and really hyper focused on things. And I have to close the door or tell my husband or lock my cats out of my office so I don't get distracted. And so, I think stepping back and really looking at yourself, what are your needs? Where do you need to have where can you get that breathing space to have your focus and get your time back to yourself? What can give? And if that give is literally giving your task to somebody like me to get them done quickly and efficiently, then yeah, get it done, because that will free you up time later on to do the stuff that you actually enjoy. So, stop doing those things you don't enjoy. Got to live life, be happy.
Absolutely. And you also did mention that from the outside, do things from the inside, see what feels well and things of that nature. Now, for those that are probably looking at either it's a partner, a loved one, or somebody that they really care about, and they can literally see them losing control of what's actually happening, what is the sort of first aid that somebody can do, because I think that is also crucial to just be aware when that is actually happening, not to tell people get it together or things of that nature. You know what I mean? What would you
Yeah,
suggest?
I can't. I can't stress enough. Listening. Just listen. Sometimes people don't want a solution; they just need somebody to listen to them. And it's such a powerful skill, listening, because there's so much noise around us these days, that I think we forget to listen sometimes, and often we've got so much going on in our minds of stuff that we have to do ourselves, that we're thinking about the next thing to say instead of listening to the actual person that's going through the struggle or the stress. So stop and really actively listen. Look them in the eyes and look at, what they're feeling, because more often than not, you've been in that situation yourself. So, communication, listening is really, a big problem solving tip I have is just stop, breathe, listen. And if they're kind of annoying you, stop and breathe, or either pinch yourself and try and listen. Because it can be frustrating when you've got somebody in your household that is severely, disorganized, and they're constantly losing stuff or, complaining about things. But, sometimes they just need you to stop and listen to them and not necessarily offer solutions, but perhaps say, okay, how can we attack this together? What do you need? Ask questions more than provide solutions, I think sometimes helps people get that thing off their mind.
I think I'm guilty of that, Geena. Whenever somebody's have you tried this, and then I go back to
Yeah, and it's frustrating when sometimes people are like, have you tried this, that, or the other thing? When they haven't even gotten to that point where they've gotten to tell you that they've tried all these different things. So, I love listening to people.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the time that you spent with us today. I mean, your life story and your experience of what you're doing for other people is truly remarkable. I viscerally believe in life. We're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. So in order for us to live the best life, we need to have learned. And in your instance, your learning was real world. You came from being a stylist, learned all your way through corporate, were in the front of all these business deals happening as a business development manager. And now you're just sending the elevator down, helping the small to medium business people, and also the moms and dads just get by and go through yet another day. And I don't know if you believe me when I mentioned this at the start, that you're doing God's work.
Oh, thank you, Prosper. And as I said to you, you're doing God's work. The support that you give businesses is truly inspiring too. And I hope everybody who is watching today gets some good tips and utilizes all the amazing resources that you provide as well. You're a star.
Fantastic. Well, it does help to have guests like yourself that have done the work, and now they're just sharing their expertise. And talking about sharing their expertise, now that you've gotten us into your world, Geena, what's next? What can we be excited about that you're working on? Or how do you continue to plan making take off, the positive impact that it is for others?
Yeah, I think with TikTok, you can certainly you'll be seeing more case studies of how I've worked with a varying industries of clients. I also think you'll be able to see the breadth and depth of all sorts of things that you can get ticked off your to-do list. But you'll also start seeing more from me in terms of tips and how you can start getting a little bit more organized. And Prosper, I'd love to come over and organize your bookcase, because
Okay.
my right. OCD is
this
going
is where the all ends. Because by the time you get here, you're going to see all the tabs that are open. This is just my emotional support. Okay. So that's how I deal with
I have lots of tabs open, but I group tabs. You should start grouping tabs. It's a good thing to do. No, but in terms of ticked off, I think, I've never wanted to expand the business, because I think, people want me, and I consider myself a little bit of a unicorn in that thing. And I have a really high level of quality that I like to give my clients. So I don't think I'll be expanding my team. It's me that you get, and only me. But of course, if I don't know how to do something, then I've got lots of amazing people that I work with and know of, that I can refer you on to the right person. So I love spreading my network and meeting new people and connecting with other businesses. So if you're another business owner out there that wants to connect and we share a few clients, whatever is in the name of game and game of helping people is where I'm interested in. So yeah, always keen to hear about other people's businesses.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing your incredible journey with us. I mean, your story is just a testament to the power of, first of all, embracing one's unique skills, because there's not a lot of people that can position themselves in where you've positioned yourself based on your expertise, your knowledge, and just the person that you are. And now you're using all of that into making it a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Because once other people's lives are in order, guess what? The whole world gets in order. First, it's their world, and then it becomes a ripple effect moving forward. So, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And for those that are watching or listening, thank you for obviously choosing the Online Prosperity Show to be that one place where you find insightful information like this. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by maybe your own to-do list, or maybe just struggled to find the right systems to manage your tasks, I think Geena's approach really offers that refreshing perspective. So her ability to tailor situations and whatever it is that you're going through to your own particular individual needs is really what sets Ticked Off apart. So don't forget to visit www.tickedoff.co.nz to learn more about her services. I'll be putting all those links in the show notes below. And obviously, in the interest of you getting to, lead a happier existence without the overwhelm, be sure to check out our next episode, where we are going to be talking about how you can lead your life with a happier existence. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the valuable insights that we've got in store for you on the Online Prosperity Show. Until next time, stay organized. Bye for now.